Hi all, and welcome to the Th&I show with special guest this evening, Lily Earthling. Hopefully this time it's going to work. Anyway, here's some music. Hi all, and welcome to a special edition of the Truth, Honour and Integrity show tonight with special guest Lily Earthling. I know we tried it last week and someone decided to interfere with it. I thought we were going to get another interference to reconnect. I thought, oh no, not again. But hopefully we have Lily on the line. I'm going to say a couple of things before she comes on, and this should be quite an interesting show. There won't be anything political. That's the Thursday show. This is all about positivity and improving our own lives and how we can go about things. And Lily's material will no doubt cover that in greater depth than I can. And so hopefully Lily is online and we can say hi. Hi, Lily.
Hello, Thomas, and hello, THI family. It's great to be back.
Good. So apologies for last week.
Oh, no problem.
It's the fun and games. It's a bit different when we have a guest on the show. I have to use a desktop studio to call out on the Skype, and sometimes it goes a bit astray. We've had this issue before, or my mic gets turned off. But these are the part of the fun and games. Right. Lily and I have kind of been friends for a couple of years now, on and off. We kept in contact with each other's work, and we've had Lily on before, as you all remember. And one of the strange things that I found or came upon is in one of Lily's earlier shows and videos, she had a drawing that kind of triggered me into something that I'd picked up on a couple of years later in the dream time. Now, neither of us are particularly scientifically minded, Lily, and yet upon meeting we both realised we had very similar knowledge in many ways on how life works and living in trapped systems and all that stuff. And as I said, you obtained your knowledge before I did. So do you think it's a case of certain ones reaching a level of consciousness, or are we pulling from the collective, or is something else in play here?
Well, I come to a conclusion a long time ago, and when I originally came out with my information and my original graph, and what I wanted to talk about from the very beginning is about self-empowerment.
Yes.
And self-healing. Originally, I talked about self-healing because this is ultimately about humanity standing up within themselves. And eventually, all of our spiritual work will lead us to self. And that's where I end up. And then it's about self-awareness. And this is where humanity power lies. It's about who we are. Because as humanity, we don't know who we are. Today, the way you look at what is happening around the world, we can say that humanity is lost. I think it's pretty obvious. And so we need to find self-awareness.
Self-empowerment.
Mm-hmm. So it has always been my information and everything that I've tried to do. I try to bring information forth that will give ideas and help others to recognize the power that is within a human being that is connected to source.
Yes.
Because a human being is a creator being.
Yes, I agree.
And we create realities, and we've entered on this planet into a period of transition. Some call it conjunction, some call it, well, veil lifting period. There's many names for it. But we're definitely moving through a period on this planet that a lot of changes are happening. And so right now we stepped fully openly into this period, what many have called the Aquarian Age, and I strongly believe now that we just stepped into it too.
So we're at a kind of crossroads for the whole species, really, aren't we? Where we go forward at a heightened level, both on an individual level, but also on a collective. Is that how you see it at this time?
Yes, but I see it, and I always seen it, I think, in a little bit of a different way. Without reclaiming self, you can't really make a coherent change in a collective humanity. And what you said earlier, that you weren't sure where this information comes from. Is it from collective level human consciousness? But I know that through self is how we gain gnosis, which ancient Gnostics used to call the inner knowing.
Yes.
As gnosis. And so you gain that through your own self-awareness, through your own self-initiation into that process as well. This is what I've called in my videos, in my Wild Wisdom Warrior series, the self-metamorphosis process. It is a self-initiation into that gnosis, which is the inner knowing, or the knowledge.
Yes. Sometimes people think knowing, perhaps you can address it, knowing the self and self-working, working on the self is kind of selfish, but it's not, as if it eventually has a sphere of influence that then resonates out, which hopefully others can pick up on. Is that how you understand it?
Yes, but sorry.
That's okay. You still there? Well, I think Lily's still on, but I think she's kind of distracted at the moment. Yeah, Lily was talking about self-worth and inner knowing, and perhaps some people will see that as being slightly selfish, when we've always been, particularly our show, about the collective and helping each other. But you can't help somebody else if you can't help yourself. And sometimes many of us in the alternative media have been driven, have kind of let ourselves go, myself included, rather than focusing on the self, to then be able to focus better on the collective. Are you back, Lily?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that little delay.
That's okay.
So, my perspective on this, Thomas, and I know ever since I've been speaking publicly about this, it is difficult to I've been saying that it is difficult to change collective without changing self first. And this does have to do a lot, and I know in alternative communities it has been very popular to talk about this sovereignty, self-sovereignty. And what does it really mean for a human being to be sovereign? And without self-sovereignty, we can't have collective sovereignty. So here is where I step in, and this is why I call this path a wild wisdom warrior's path. Because the wild wisdom warrior is in full awareness of self as a creator self. And so the wild wisdom warrior is somebody who is self-generating realities, life, self-operating creator being in human form. But that also comes with huge responsibility.
Yes.
So a creator being, then self-responsible creator being, will also understand fully that he is self-originating his reality. So I know there is a lot of talk about warriorship in spiritual communities, in alternative communities especially. But what I've seen, and especially in the last 2 years, is this huge increase into a techno-spirituality again.
Yes.
But the true spiritual warriorship can never be about any techno-spirituality. So what I call techno-spirituality, it's any and everything that is your own gnosis. That's the only true self knowledge is what is within you. So there is a lot of spirituality out there that seem to be not even so technical, not AI. There's plenty of AI stuff and all of that stuff. We all know about that.
Yeah.
But there is more of that, let's say even, you take, and people are absolutely embedded in certain teachings. Let's say sacred geometry. That is limiting. It doesn't matter which part of it right, which part of it is incorrect, but when we really get to the bottom of things, the inner knowledge or the self, the creator self, is within. And there is no other way to get to it but through within, through going within. And so that's the wild wisdom warrior path, is going within. And the reason we need to go within right now and step on those paths is because we have a correction timeline to manifest on this planet.
And it's up to each and every one of us to do that manifest, is it not?
Yes, because to the degree that you have full awareness that you are the creator being, that you are and creator source are one, is to the degree that you are free from any and all control systems, programs, AIs, imposter God himself, archonic grid. It's all up to individual, because it's to the degree of your awareness, because this is about self-awareness. This self-metamorphosis process, or stepping into this path of a creator being in human form, it's all about your own self-awareness. So if you really think about the degree of those self-awareness, And you understand that that self-gnosis can never be given to you. It can only be reclaimed by each individual.
Yeah. Excuse me. A couple of things that you mentioned earlier. Personal responsibility. We've covered this quite a few times in the normal Thursday shows. If we all took collective individual and then collective personal responsibility, then a lot of issues that we face currently would go away. It would completely vanish overnight. But the other thing you mentioned is about limitations, and I think this is a big part of the problem of humanity is the limitations they impose on themselves, never mind what the cabal do or the politicians do or whoever else. It's the self-imposed limitations. I can't do this, or I'm not good enough to do that. Your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. The limitations that humanity put on themselves, and I just give an example of, let's say, a sacred geometry, It is a limitation because it's like a box. You don't believe in yourself, that you are a creator. It's a creator being in full awareness, creates through logos, not through secret geometry. Secret geometry or any other middle sort of teaching that tells you how it is, and if you don't experience that yourself, that it is not your experience. So everything, and I'm not saying that, those teachings or those ancient teachings are not helpful. I'm saying that even the sacred geometry, if it triggers within you a path of self-discovery, to discover your own creator being within, then that's all helpful. But a lot of times with that, there's a lot of manipulations that come, because for this invasive force that is here on the planet, it is an invisible enemy. And this enemy is on our human consciousness. And so we understand that to overcome this is we only have the power within that we need to bring forth to overcome this, the self-awareness.
Yeah. So you mentioned about all being creator beings, and the wish for humanity to manifest itself. Well, you said like it's a hidden force. Would you know? There's many different names for it, and of course, Matrix being one of them. And it's a case of us recognizing ourselves for what we are, manifesting ourselves out of it and outside of the matrix, where everything then goes back to the organic. Your thoughts on that, please, Lily?
Yes, and I've been all about organic creation.
Yeah.
And I know that as humanity, and I've talked about this a lot in the past, that we do create our reality. It is just our creation is being invaded and manipulated, and so the manifested reality here is affected by other invasive force that is here. And so the recognition of that is only through self-awareness. And that's what I'm saying, and I've been saying this. But that organic creation cannot be projected because it's in real time. It is the living light creation, which is through logos, which is through living light or living spirit within a human being. But this, of course, brings us to the fact that not every human being that looks like human being here on this planet is actually a human being.
Nope.
But the human beings that have the living spirit within, then have the ability through this self-awareness to manifest reality.
Yes, as the saying goes, you be the change you wish to see, as such. And it's kind of hard initially, I feel, to get over that initial stage where you kind of wake up to a different sort of reality, and you find you do have an influence on certain aspects of life far more than you realise. And it takes a little bit of getting used to for people, because of the limitations imposed with the education system, the religious construct, and all kinds of other things put in the way, which makes us appear to have little or no power, when in reality we have all the power we ever needed, and it's us that controls this planet, not them or it. It's us, but we just have to realise what we have, and then so go forward with it and say, right, we're going to fix it. And it's, you know, there's many things where you go, oh, we need a revolution, or we need this, or we need that, we need an all-out war, we need financial compensation, etc., etc. When the simple solution is, we just need to recognise who and what we are, and then make the change for ourselves.
Yes, Thomas, before
and it's that simple.
Before I add to that, I'm getting some messages that your volume is really, really low. So if you have the ability to put your volume up.
It's actually at its max at the moment.
Okay.
It's part of the issues of using this studio version. I absolutely hate it, but it's just the way it is. I've increased it to its max, and so apologies for that. I'll try getting closer to the mic and shouting a bit more, and hopefully that sounds better.
Thank you, Thomas. Well, you and me had talks about this friction energy, what I used to call. And this is the competition structure that have been programmed into humanity through the hive mind, collective mind control system. So what that creates is this friction energy within people. And so what happens is then people want to change things. They're very unhappy in the external world through this friction energy. So one against another, which works perfectly for Archonic Grid because that's what feeds it. And so people that are subscribing or that have not figured out a way to free themselves or become sovereign of the matrix system, then they're influenced by it. And so then what they do is they create all this friction energy that feeds matrix, basically. But those are programs. And we've talked a lot about that there is a lot of programs that people are running, they're mind controlled. And many people in alternative communities are helping out this control grid to stay alive through all this techno-spirituality that is out there. It's manipulated, and so it puts people into this friction, even in the spiritual communities that talk about self-sovereignty and owning your reality, owning your responsibility. And this is also creates that victim mentality, which puts it all heightened, and that friction energy creates again that trauma feeling, and then recreated energy as that it's a blueprint to feed the matrix system.
Yeah, part
That's
of
what
the
it
problem
does.
I feel has been the conflict within the alternative media, and many of them have made all kinds of promises, and we're going to get this event and that event, and I think many in the alternative community feel there's some sort of like a light switch event where suddenly a switch goes off and everything's into something else, and we're in the age of Aquarius and abundance, and we're all going to live happily ever after, pain free and without trauma.
It's
so
just another level
that's
of
where
a
the
savior
limitations come in.
Yeah, it's another level of savior program.
Yeah.
And all it does is just they live on some kind of hopium that somebody else will come and, pull them out of their own self-created misery field. This is what people ultimately hope for when they're running any kind of savior program, and they don't want to do any work of their own. They don't want to do anything by themselves for themselves. And so then they wait for somebody else to do it for them, and they will believe anything and everything. And the thing is, the reason you say it's kind of like what I've noticed in alternative communities that are this middleman that running this techno spirituality, wave in alternative communities. It seems like, and it's been like this forever, is the savior program. It keeps getting a little upgrade. It's just like changing the furniture around the house, but the same structure is still in place. And so these people, they don't have direct experience. They just have second information from somebody. And that second information always comes from those that want to influence humanity. And I see that a lot of alternative communities and a lot of alternative media are out there. They're just kind of like, social engineering projects that they're running on these alternative communities. There's all kinds of things that people try to present as new, but it's the same structure of matrix system and matrix grid, with limiting humanity to a certain belief system. And this is why when I was telling you what other things that I wanted to bring up, because this brings me up to the direct disclosure. What is direct disclosure? Because I think it was even on your show that I said the disclosure belongs to humanity. But it's the direct disclosure that belongs to humanity. It is those that are able to bring forth this knowledge from within, or those that directly experience. Those are the real disclosure.
Yes,
And Gnostics also call them the revealers, or those that have the hidden knowledge within them, and the time right now has come for the revealers to reveal. And that's the actual direct disclosure that humanity will have. What we had up to now, for most of the time, it was all this, what they were calling disclosure, but it was always through sources in a hierarchical system of control. That's why they could never give you a full disclosure. And that's why I said that it belongs to humanity, because it has to come directly through individual experience and individual knowing.
Yes, this disclosure is a strange term in many ways, because the reality is we've already had disclosure in many aspects, but there's always waiting for the official announcement of sorts, where it's got to come from a more famous, in inverted commas, person, or it's got to come from CNN, or it's got to come from Obama, when the reality is you've already had your disclosure. The ET topic in particular, when are we going to get capital D disclosure? And I've spoken to people who've had direct contact, and I said, you've already had it. Why are you waiting for somebody else to tell you what you already know? And this is part of the limitations that we impose on ourselves, all of us, myself included, whereby we're waiting for somebody else to tell us what is real and what is not real. And ultimately, you are led down a garden path of basically mind-twisting proportions. It's all, the answers are always within, and that's how I found most of my knowledge. Yes, I supplemented it with certain information from the internet and the people I knew, but a lot of the higher knowledge came from within.
Yes, and more of it is coming right now.
Oh yeah.
I see a lot of really interesting sharings out there today in the world, and a lot of changes is happening because of it. And I said that, the disclosure, this direct disclosure, has already begun, because energetically we already stepped into correction timeline, and we already are in process of deconstructing matrix timeline, because that also shows a lot of evidence that this, as I call it, a domino effect, meaning that the construction process of this matrix control system has begun, and it's going to keep on going. This is an unstoppable process that's going to take place on this planet.
Yes, I agree. You touched briefly about 5 minutes ago about the Saviour programming, and it's become sort of a meme in the alternative media. Oh, that's another Saviour program, but in essence, to me anyway, I'm finding they're using that to take people away from their own Saviour program, which allows you to then step outside of the matrix and be who you really are. So in essence, each and every individual on this planet, human living souls, are all part of a Saviour program of themselves, and that's of the ultimate importance for now and the future, is it not?
Yes. We are our own Savior in this case. What we're getting right now is we're seeing a lot of truth. And what is happening, because the deconstruction of illusion, this is exactly what end of mind calendar really meant. That the illusion, because that's what word Maya means, is the illusion. So that illusionary timeline was over, and now we're in correction timeline. And because we're in correction timeline, that illusion has to be deconstructed. And this is why we see so much things that are revealing themselves for what they truly are. And a lot of lies reveal themselves with lies, and then the truth stands for what it is. We see a lot of things right now, and I know you called this last year a revealing year, that we were able to see a lot of truth. And the thing is that right now, the illusion timeline, and what I call it the illusionary awakening, that was set up by the Matrix to trap human souls, to keep feeding the Matrix and to stay with the illusionary timeline, that many of those people are still running those programs and going through this illusionary awakening process. But right now, as more and more of this energy, of the inner earth energy is expanding, the more we're going to see and be in a lot more clarity about who is who and who is working for who. I know that our last conversation with you, Thomas, we talked a little bit about platforms and things like that we're going to be revealing, in the near future, things that are going to start to be revealed.
Yes.
This is just the same in here, and the fakes and cartoonish, illusionary awakening, that a lot of people fell for, and they still to this day think that somehow it has value more than your own self. Anything else outside of you has value, and it got so really low, to be honest with you, with all this illusionary awakening teachings, to where it's the computers or whoever that's going to give us the self-awareness. It got to the point to where it show itself that it has no foundation. A lot of these things have no foundation. And as they are deconstructing, we see that everything is falling into that. It's no longer just serves humanity. And so when we work on ourselves and we step into ourselves and we gain that self-awareness, then there is nothing that we need to be afraid of. Because as a warriors, and that's why I talk about the warriorship, because to stand in yourself, it requires this warriorship. It requires you to stand up within yourself, for yourself. And so when you do that, there is no fear. And for that, cannot be a victim reality. There is no victim and victimizer. There's only warrior then.
Yeah. I'm hoping this sounds better now. I apologise for the low sound. It's outside of my control, but hopefully now I've got the mic right on top of my face. This might sound a little bit better for you all, but it's not. It's an outside issue, but we'll see how this goes. Ultimately, it is down to us. I've been saying this on my show on Cosmic Voice for a long time now about standing up, and people say, well, what can I do because I'm X years of age, or I'm disabled, or I'm this and that. Well, it doesn't really take much physical. We don't have to stand up and march on the White House to turf out the clowns in there. They're not the real issue. They never were. That's the illusion. No matter who you put in as president or prime minister in other countries, the reality stays the same. Different face, same mask. And the answers have always lay within. This is what the ancient teachings told us to do. You don't need to go to church and give your power away. Every time you look up to somebody else or idolize somebody else, you're giving your power away. No one's more important than you are. They never were. Just because Mr. Trump's the president doesn't make him more important than you. He's just doing a different job. That's all it is at the end of the day. The idea that it's important is an illusion. And
anything we do.
Sorry.
And I just wanted to add to that anything you do, if you are on self-realization path, or if you are going through this self-metamorphosis process of reclaiming your true sovereignty as a creator being, then when you really, really understand what it really means, that you're a creator being in human form, reclaiming your sovereignty, your true sovereignty, true God-given sovereignty to create reality, then, those things that sometimes people complain about or say, oh, if this person does this or that, then this is how it's going to affect me. This is nothing else then affects you except you. If you really understand the true stand for the true sovereignty that the human being has to take. And you said, Thomas, that all the answers are within, and I so agree with you, they are. But there is also your will as a creator being to take an action, to take the right action at each moment as a creator self, empowered by universal living field of all creation. Then if you take action through your will, through human will, then that's the answers as well, because we also hold the answers and the questions. And so when we have questions, that means we hold the answers too. And a lot of times we don't take action. And this mind programming, what I see done to humanity, it really disempowered humanity to the point where humanity, all we do is just complain, and people don't even stand for anything. They just stand against something. They keep following, oh, I don't like this, so I'm going to go with this opposite people or anything. People are so lost in this labyrinth of illusionary awakening to the truth that is still set up by the matrix system and matrix controlled spiritual hierarchy on the planet. They're still all under the control of archons. And so for any human being to really know the self, we have to also understand that it is also and ultimately it is up to us to take an action or take a stand within the self, a creator self. It's like our spirits have to stand up. We can't allow anymore for those of us that truly saying that they're awakening and they're going through this true awakening process. We need to understand that it's about this spiritual stand, because it's a spiritual war. This is not war between belief systems. We had plenty of that with religions. Aren't we all tired of that same blueprint that is being repeated in New Age? It's just going from, ascended masters, from, aliens know how to do it, what to do for humanity. Then there is all this knowledge that's gonna do right. And now, we're about techno-spirituality. But it's all the same blueprint. It's disempowering to a human being. And this competition that we have for spiritual knowledge, how can somebody claim that they have full self-awareness and they're one with Source Being and yet be in scarcity for spiritual knowledge? You can't. Because if you are in full awareness of who you are as a human being, there is no scarcity for inner knowledge. Because it's source creator. This is who within. So it's all that it is. And so the difference that you're describing, Thomas, and what we're trying to talk about here without, saying that, oh, this is good or this is bad. It's just that from a different point, from a point of being self-aware and being self-originator of your existence, of your reality. That's what I want to bring forth, and this is why it is a warrior path. Because it's the reclaiming of true sovereignty of who you are as a human being. You are creator self. You are creator being in human form. And that's the true warrior. That's the wild wisdom warrior. That's the code of wild wisdom warrior, is to always be self-responsible and self-reliant. Because it is the knowledge that gnosis are unlimited. That's what a lot of people create a lot of noise around this hidden knowledge or occult knowledge, but it really is self-knowledge. And that's the most important message that I want to share with humanity, that it is about self, and you have to reclaim and self-initiate yourself into this, your own sovereignty of the spirit, of the living spirit that is given to us by Source. It can never be owned by any matrix system or any AI or anything. It is living spirit.
Yes, those systems only exist if you give it the power.
Exactly.
You hand over the power. You mentioned earlier about is it good or bad? In reality, that's more of another issue, is the binary thinking that we've programmed, that's been installed here, where everything is black or white, or the binary system led the computer ones and zeros, and there's nothing else. The answer is it's in between. Light or dark. Do we as light beings want to wipe out all of the dark? No, because you need a balance. Light doesn't know it's light unless there's something to reflect upon. And this is the important thing. Situations that come up in your life are not, perhaps people would help themselves and also help with the victimhood mode, where they look at good or bad as being both, whereby it's a learning experience. If you had a good experience, that's all nice and it's all very well. But if you had a bad experience, you can gain just as much from the bad experience as you did, if not more, than the good experience. It's all a learning curve for yourself and hopefully those around you, where you can influence others. And the most important thing is that we've kind of let humanity go, is we're being reactive rather than proactive. We're reacting to situations rather than seeing them ahead and being proactive and counteracting them before they take place. Your thoughts, Lily?
Yes, a lot of people are in reaction to all this other people's actions is because they're not standing within their own power. And so that's kind of been, we've seen a lot of that going on with a lot of changes that are happening, even, let's say, in United States, and people that react to those changes are just they're stuck themselves within something within themselves. So that's just also the external reaction is reflex right now. And I said this, that it reflects to humanity back what it has truly come to and where humanity is standing today.
Yes, and the last thing we want is to reflect back. That's getting into another story about the holographic construct reflecting back at us, so that's not good. But it's just so important at this time that each and every person recognises where they stand, where they need to work on, go into the self. Members who listen to this show over Thursday asked me a question the other week where I get all the knowledge from, and I don't watch this and I don't listen to that. I find myself being drawn to watch certain shows, which I don't watch much TV, or certain videos, and I find that there's a portion of that video that I needed to watch, and that's once you get to a certain state of mind is what happens. You're pulling the information to you rather than you searching for the information, and that's something perhaps people could work on, where they're not asking for answers or questions all the time, is go within. We keep saying this, like you said earlier, the answers are always within, and people go, no they're not, I don't know the answer to this and I don't know the answer to that, and we've all done it, but the more you see, the more you find.
It's like you get on your flow within yourself, and then the more you question everything within, then the answers could, and confirmations, I've said this before, can come from without. But the key are still, it's up to you to recognize certain things that are truth, that others speak, but it always is goes through your own self-awareness, everything in external world. And so then you can recognize the truth that others might speak, and that's how we can see that there is, like I was talking earlier about the direct disclosure. It's coming from many different people. So I'm not saying that, nobody knows anything except you, but this is the period when the truth is going to be revealed. So there's a lot of it that's popping through direct disclosure or direct experiences that people have. And so those are usually also, like you were saying, Thomas, I'm drawn to listen to some things and some other people, because I really feel that they're speaking the truth, because they're speaking from their direct experience of what is happening with them. And this is what is the most amazing right now, is all this information that people bringing up, that it is their direct experience and direct knowledge from within. And the programmed world, the matrix world, just is running out of the programs right now, because they're all kind of sound the same. But there's still so much been revealed in this last year, and this year it's going to be revealed even more.
Yes.
And we need to get into that. Yes. And we will be looking back a lot at, that a lot of this is because we, as humanity, need to wake up our true living spirit within.
Right.
And that nobody else will wake that up except you, within you. because
Absolutely.
that's the living spirit that is the creator self.
Right, we're at the top of the hour, Lily, and
Okay.
we're going to have a couple of songs, about 8 minutes roughly, and we'll be back with Lily for the second hour. These two songs will kind of sum it up. The first one's A New World Coming, and the second one will be familiar to Th&I, You Are the Voice. Remember that. Hi all, and welcome back to the second hour this evening with our special guest, Lily Earthling. I'm sure you all enjoyed the first hour. Lily, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you.
Now, we covered quite a few things in the first hour. In essence, disclosure, and particularly to do with humanity and the backstory of it, is all part of the illusion in many aspects, and also part of the. Could it be also be seen as part of a distraction program, where we spend that much time seeking for answers rather than seeing it for what it is, and taking steps to be proactive and creative and eradicate that backstory?
Yes, we need to understand that controlled disclosure, as I used to call it, which, some were saying partial disclosure, full disclosure, it's all controlled disclosure. It's done through sources, and it's controlled, and it's done to benefit matrix. I've said this before, and that still stands to be the truth. So the lesson here, and this is why I created a new series of videos that I'm making called Wild Wisdom Warriors series. It's for those that understand that all of that controlled disclosure is working for the matrix to benefit the matrix, because it is done through mind control. And right now, humanity, 2017, is the year of you're calling it unraveling. I'm calling it a commencement of the new Aquarian age. This is the year where the self-empowered need to step in and manifest reality here. This is where we're standing here on this plane of existence. And I know that a lot of people in disclosure communities talk a lot about, what this is all about, and they're all waiting and have only very few sources. But a lot of people are letting themselves be controlled by controlled disclosure.
Yep.
And so for me, right now, is the most important thing is to bring and share with humanity right now is this stand of the warrior. Because the power of a warrior comes from the universal singularity, which is source field, living source field. There is nothing more powerful in the universe than that. And when we look at this and why we think, okay, why do they have to go to such an extent to manipulate and mind control our reality? It's not just for fun. It is to control humanity and control this creation. And if humanity has any at all chance to move forward and be a human being, a race of human beings right now, we need to take this reality into our hands. And the only way to do it is through this self-creator or self-empowerment path, and to step into this warriorship, a spiritual warriorship. And that's the only way we can make any changes for collective humanity, is to step into ourselves and understand the power that we hold. And then when you understand that the power that you hold, then your intent is more powerful than anything that Matrix will throw at you. So any kind of controlled disclosure should not affect or throw human being that is empowered, self-empowered, off their path or their intent. And this is right now is about intent for humanity to stand up. Because I know you've been talking about this and things have been really, really bad. And it was going all this, seems like all this dependency on all the sources for what happening. It was getting so desperate on many levels. It's because it was coming, the real disclosure and the real awakening. What I'm saying, this 2017 is bringing real awakening. But this awakening is nothing like what most people are familiar with through the control illusionary awakening process that's been presented to us by Matrix disciples, as I call them. And you know me, Thomas, I don't hold back anything. I say things for what I see them. And there is a lot of, in alternative communities, there is a lot of Matrix disciples.
Yes.
Open. Running programs for Matrix system. Aiding and abating enemy, human enemy. Right now, we have that, and they're still trying to hide. But what I'm saying that what we're stepping in right now, in the period we're stepping in, and in the beginning of 2016, I did say that in my prediction, I guess if you want to call this, sometimes we do give predictions, but it's not really a predictions. It is just reading the energy. It's just energy. That's what I feel, and this is what's manifesting right now, is that 2017 is, you cannot hide anymore. So those Matrix disciples are being revealed for who they are and who is their real master that they feed. And so when we see that and the veil is lifting and we can see the truth, then we can't change those people by trying to change their lives or rearrange their lives. They were arranged for them by somebody else because they still belong to the spiritual hierarchical system. And the wild wisdom warrior does not apply because he stands alone in the power of source within. That's his power and that's his tool. And so this is why I can freely say what I think, because I don't give my power to any of those that give out controlled disclosure. I see them for what they are. They're servants of the Matrix system. They've been running those programs, they've been controlled, and they still are.
Absolutely.
And let them be. But that's not, I don't depend. As a warrior, I don't depend on their information when they're given it or not given it. No. In some cases, there was information that was given through direct disclosure, like on Lucian and stuff. And then 2 years later, There's people like Fulford are talking about that.
Yep.
They have nothing on their own. Their information is from other sources like you don't even know. There's no different than CNN and all of those clowns over there. It's the same fake news blueprint. So we see that so clearly right now, and it has only been 1 month of 2017. And there is so much more clarity on the energies we can see right now because it's showing us for what it is. And it's up to us also, and this is why I love talking with your listeners, because I know that your group has been going through this self-healing as well, and that it is up to us how we perceive any other information.
Yes, absolutely. That's, I left Cosmic Voice, or perhaps removed from Cosmic Voice is the better term.
Exactly, and this is what I'm saying. You take the power into your own hands and you step out of the situation that is not serving you as a human being empowered by Source. And so it's not really, there is really nothing we can do for others because, like I was talking earlier, it is about reclaiming your own self-sovereignty. And I know you like to talk about that this is in an unraveling year, 2017. So we have to sort of do a little backwards thinking here and understand what is it that we're unraveling, because we have to free our own self from this mind control.
Yep.
And this is how it's done, is through reclaiming or self-reclaiming through this self-awakening process, is reclaiming of your sovereignty as a human being, as a source-empowered creator being in human form. And this is what this, all this excitement is about this year. And maybe this is what some of them call event and all of that stuff, but it really is up to each individual to step into this process. And there is nothing that anybody can do that is like a group thinking, like a hive mind programming that is still very rampant out there, because we have to understand, those of us that stepped into this real awakening process and we're stepping into this warriorship, into this spiritual empowerment of a human being, that is, that's very empowering for humanity, this period. But that also doesn't mean that all this reprogramming will stop. But those that are truly awakening will understand that that program is just running, but it's powerless. And the reason it's powerless because I am the one who's giving power to it. And if every one of us go into this real self-awakening process, and then we reclaim our sovereignty and we step out of the victim field, because I've been talking a lot about the victim field that runs rampant in alternative spiritual communities. It is an infection. It is so on steroids right now, because everywhere you look, there is a display of the victim. And there is very little spiritual warriorship in spiritual communities. There's a lot of people that talk about being a spiritual warrior, but they're doing it while whining and crying about, everything else but themselves. And I've been outspoken about that. And I say I don't buy into this victim mentality, because if you're empowered by Source, creator being, then you're not going to be doing you're self-empowering through standing in the victim field.
No, because that's the program.
Because that's the program. And that program is what's running through still the old system. And even though it is visible to those, but it is visible to those that can see or are willing to see or are striving to see.
Yeah, some of
they
the things.
Will see that.
Yeah. Some of the things that we've covered on Th&I is, well, I opened the Th&I show with, I'm going to get people to think and act differently. We can't carry on thinking the same way and expecting different results. We've talked about doing the inner work, the shadow work, and never putting anybody above your own heart. That means no idols, no giving your power away, which is what we do too much. But one of the biggest issues people are facing currently is the reason why I called it the unraveling is for the last 5 or 6 years since the alternative community has kind of seen a mass awakening, so to speak, even though there's been a lot of obstacles, both known and unknown, in the way, is people have finally saw the onion. Most people didn't realise the onion existed. Now they see it for what it is, and this year is about unravelling that onion. And ultimately, once you get to the bottom, you can plant a seed and regrow it in your image, not their image. And that's the way I see things going forward, But a lot of the issues that people are facing now is by doing their inner work and the shadow side, dealing with the shadow side, it's bringing up a lot of pain and trauma for people. How would you advise those people who are going through that, and how important is it that they stay the course?
It is very important to stay the course, because once you step above it, and this is when you're not controlled by the effects of that. And this is what we see a lot right now with people being triggered into anchoring themselves into the victim field right now, is that trauma is being replayed, and this is how it gets triggered in people. So they do, like you said, same thing over and over again and expecting different result, or expecting a spiritual growth going through an illusionary awakening process. Because if you don't own your reality, and this is what illusionary awakening process is all about, is to give you an illusion of awakening. So it's very confusing for a lot of people, but at the same time, while it's giving you illusions, it's triggering trauma points in your existence, and because you haven't attained them yourself, and you haven't released that energy from your own aura or from your own field, then those triggers will work. And this is why it's important to work on those from yourself, and this is why it's important to release them for yourself and let it all go, because all that it does, it keeps you in the past. And so for somebody who wants to move forward, knowing that you have the abilities to just learn from it, look at it for what it is, look at your life as the spiritual experience, because it is your spirit, a source creator, experiencing creation through human form. That's who you are. And if you look at everything that is happening in your life as your spiritual experience, as your spiritual growth, because this is what it's all about. This life here is about us growing spiritually and gaining the gnosis and returning to self, gnosis. And so those trauma points will trigger you back into the pattern of matrix, because the matrix system is, it's a complicated system if you look at it from that point of view of inorganic consciousness, doing its thing. But if you really step into and understand who you are as a human being, then that is not something that you need to sort of deal with, and you can step above it. And that's what warriors do, step above it. Because your intent here as a spiritual being is to stand in that creator self. And so as a creator self, then you know that you cannot, trauma has no part of a warrior existence. It has not, because warrior intent is pure and his intent is spiritual in its nature. So, and it is anchored in source. So understanding that all those trauma points are doing is trying to trigger you into a mental construct of a program, a hive mind program that can only run on your own energy, being a victim. And if you step into the victim field and you operate as a victim, then you're locked in that program. And all you do is you feed the matrix through those trauma situations that we cannot let it go. And I know it's just kind of short what I'm saying, but it is still all up to each individual. And no matter what you need to do or how you need to do it, but if you know that it is up to you, and once you do release it, and however you can release it, then you will know that you have to. If you want to grow spiritually, if you want to move forward, if you want to step into your creator being, then you got to let it all go. We cannot be stuck, because this is when I think a lot of times before humanity been stuck before and got tricked into recreating another matrix reality for us. We've talked in the past about loops, and this is what this program is playing. We got to understand this is not a free thinking program. Matrix cannot create. Yes, matrix cannot create. So it's programmed, it's recycled, it's manipulates. But the real creators, the real gods are actually the human beings.
Yes.
Those that stand in that self, in the source self, which is the living spirit. But then it is still up to each individual to step into that.
Shane covered this better than I can. When for people who don't know about the loops, in essence, it's like Groundhog Day movie, where the same things happen, not every day, but every 13,000 years. And this is the 6th loop that we're currently in. It will be the last. It is ending. Now, it's been repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated until the ones in it learn to step outside of the movie and create their own movie. We don't want that program or that movie. We've watched it far too many times, and we really should have stepped out of it by now. Has there been interference to block it? In my opinion, yes, at least the last 2 loops. Whether it's previous is debatable at this point. I know we were part tricked into the first system, certainly the first loop, but it was also evidence of us giving away our power, given who
Yes.
we were, we should never have put ourselves in any sort of system that could trap us the way it has. So mistakes have been made, but it's up to us now that the loop is ending and the ties with the holographic overlay has been cut, where we can manifest again our own movie and change the ending. And that's
Exactly.
the way I see it. Each and every one of us plays a part in rewriting the script of our own movie into existence for a better reality for the self and for the all. At that point, once we all reach that level, or sufficient reach that level, the AI and its system, matrix system, falls apart. It doesn't exist. It only exists because we allow it to.
Exactly. And this is why now, right now, it is very important time for humanity to step up and step in. And this is why I keep talking, and this is why I keep making videos. Is because it is very important time for us to step up so we can step above it and create something new. And energetically, though, we all, those of us that you like to call seers, or those that have some knowledge or inner knowledge for a long time now, we knew that this time is important.
Yes.
I felt this for a long time, that this time is very important. I can see it now a lot more clear than I could even a year ago, how important it is to self-empower right now. Because a lot of things are changing. A lot of things will be deconstructing. That domino effect, as I call it, which is the deconstructing a matrix system, is just begun. There is so much more. And this process is actually unstoppable. This deconstruction of this matrix system is unstoppable. It will be all deconstructed, and humanity, those that are able and capable to step in to create a self, will create and manifest correction timeline on this planet. That was the message from the planet that I always felt was true, and everything in my life has been a confirmation of that. And lately, in last just few months, I've seen so much confirmation that the correction timeline is in progress. It's amazing. It's amazing, and that's why I feel it is very important to understand the power that a human being holds right now. And for those of us that do understand, or have the longing for it, or have the desire to step into this warriorship, we need to do it, and we need to do it as soon as we can, because we can't really play around with that cartoonish reality anymore and expect it to be any different than what it's been. We've seen what it's been. We've seen where it can get us. And so a lot of people are buying into all the destructions, because there's all kinds of shiny destructions from this. It's especially in the last year, there's all these different things just to take you away, and a lot of people in alternative communities, to take them away from this path, that most empowering path is the one that you will self-initiate yourself into. And it will be the most personal path to you. And it will be the most greatest path that you will take as a spirit. Because
yes,
regaining self-gnosis right now and bringing that forth is the best thing we can do for humanity right now. If any of us wants to help humanity, we need to step into our own human power.
Yes.
And that's how we can help it. And I know that sometimes you doing that and you being and taking action on that path will upset Matrix disciples. I guarantee you, I've upset quite a few in my last 2 years. I have no fear of upsetting them again, because I think Og said it a few days ago. The best thing I can do for you right now is become your enemy. I will tell you the truth, how it is, because I am not on one side or another. I'm seeing things for what they are. This is a very important time for humanity to truly wake up and stop fighting each other through all these mind programs and whose program is better. I'm really not interested at all into listening to people talking about whose program is better, who runs them better, or who, who they won't believe better. It's like it's
yes, that's
not
the other
time
massive
for us to create more drama. We need to create realities. There is no time anymore to give to Matrix.
Yeah, in essence, the comparative mind is on a level with the victimhood mode in spiritual descension, so to speak. And you mentioned last year was kind of there was an avalanche of negativity as I saw it back in 2012. That was the movie ended. They had to complete their portion and they failed. This is why when some of the military people were looking at the Project Looking Glass technology, is why it went blank. Now what they've tried to do is trick us into believing, and 2016 was the key to this, we knew it was coming up, trying to repeat 2016 as 2012, like a Mandela effect. That's why I kept saying late November, December, it's important we get through this year intact. After that, it's game over, and it's up to us to go and claim the victory and then create a new reality for us all.
Yes. And you mentioned victim field, and that is, like I said, there's a lot of trickery going on with the Matrix system and Matrix disciples, is that all this trickery is going on to keep people in that state of being as a victim. It is the most disempowering state of being that the human can be, because it's powerless. And so there is a lot of triggers happening for a lot of people. And so, of course, that also tells us that this is what the Matrix needs to hang on to its timeline. And so this is why there's all sort of, it's coming to the surface. But those of us that are standing in the knowing that this is, like you said, we are holding on here our position as human beings with this planet, and that's why I said this planet is on her path, and she's taking humanity and other creatures with her on this correction path. And those that choose to work in harmony with her, they will be seeing more clarity and will be more empowered. And I've talked a lot about the energy from the planet, that how we need to harmonize with the planet as well. And that will help us to go through all these changes, because I know you've seen, and I've seen a lot of people acting a little strange with all this reprogramming, and people go a little twitchy and glitch, because the programming and the mind control programming is glitching.
It's breaking down.
It's breaking down, and that's another confirmation.
I came up with
that system and that timeline is no longer valid.
Yes. I came up with something on the show 3 months ago now, and I kind of planted the seed, which I tend to do on our shows. You know, you can overload people with information at times, so I plant a seed sometimes and then go back to it when people have got a handle on it, and then delve deeper into it. And the thing I came up with, or the statement I came up with, we're now living in two worlds simultaneously. And many people thought it was odd at the time, but some were seeing what I was getting at, and I think that's becoming more and more clear, the difference in the living souls and those perhaps that have been termed synthetics or part of the holographic matrix, and more are starting to see what was stated in the show, that we're currently living in two worlds simultaneously, and the other one is falling apart right in front of us. Is that what you are experiencing?
Yes, and this is why, as I started to see it energetically, and that the matrix timeline went into deconstruct, and so everything started to manifest as that domino effect, that deconstruction started to be manifested and visible. And this is why I said that 2017, all the soul choices are going to be visible this year. And I've talked about, the 1/3 of artificial souls in the past. And I'm sure that subject is part of my series. That is also a lot, there's more clarity on that as well. And we're gonna this year see a lot more information and hear a lot more information on those type of souls and what that's all about. But right now the main thing is about self-awakening and this self-metamorphosis process for those that are ready to step into the self.
I did a post this week because many people are kind of having difficult. I made a statement on the last show where we can't help the unawakened anymore. It's taking too much energy. Some are incapable of being awakened because they're not programmed to be awake and to focus more on the self. This has caused a little bit of anxiety amongst some, so I explained it better and deeper. But this is what you're talking about with your wild wisdom warriors, is exactly the same thing, where by focusing on the self is the all important thing at the time. We've given our energy away, we've lost loved ones, we've lost friends, we've lost family, all in the effort to try and wake other people up. And if those people can't wake up, given the volumes of information that's been come forward over particularly the last 5 years, 5 or 6 years anyway, and the volume of truth that was spilled last year, you really can't keep giving away your energy to those people who won't listen. And some people are struggling with that because they feel that they have to drag people along on their own onto their path. But that's doing a disservice to those who might not be on your path. How do you see that?
Yes, this is why it's another distraction. All this group thinking and followers and all of that stuff, and that is so popular. It's another distraction from self-empowerment path. And like I said earlier, that matrix system is adjusting programs and the programming and reprogramming happening on a constant level, and constantly, and a lot of people don't understand that those people that are asleep, if we truly understand what the true awakening process is all about, that it is about self-knowledge, then you will understand that there is really, you cannot give that to anybody but yourself. So when we understand what the true awakening process of human being really is all about, then we will step out of that helping others. Because I see a lot of people are pulling others into their victim field by asking and being needy for that energy, for that supportive energy. And those people that we're trying to awake, they're just there, mind programmed to harvest your energy.
Yep. No different to the archons. Just loosen or vampiric entities that are loosening your energy.
Exactly, because whose system it is?
Yeah.
It's archonic system. What do people think, and what do these people that serve some of this spiritual hierarchy, what do they think? Who do they think they serve? Real God? This is all archonic system. There is, and this system didn't build a way out for a human being. It built traps. So a lot of people that expect any kind of help from this system, the hierarchical spiritual system, for any saving, from what it has been designed to harvest and control a human mind. It was not designed to give humanity an ascension. It was not designed to better human life. It was not designed to give humanity soul growth. It wasn't designed for any of those things that many people want and keep looking to find answers within archon ran spiritual hierarchy. And they're looking for answers from those same sources that keep them enslaved, feeding that same system. This is what Matrix disciples do. And this is obvious only to those that are standing in self-power. And that's the key, and this is why it's so important, and this is why I keep talking about this and talking about this and talking about this. Now going on third year, I'm going to be talking about more about this self-empowerment, because this is the biggest key. If we wanted to free ourselves from these systems, that's the only way we can free ourselves, is through this awakening, the real awakening of self-gnosis within. That's the hidden knowledge holders, or those that are revealers of it in this day and in this Aquarian age.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming near to the end now. What I'd like to say is, to me, these are exciting times. We've gone through a lot of pain. We've gone through a lot of trauma. We're all still here, despite what has been thrown at us. Use that as a power source for yourself, that you've come through all the traumas and all the pain and all the suffering, and you're still here, standing and fighting and moving forward. Yes, there'll still be obstacles, but we will overcome them ultimately. Lily, your final thoughts?
Yes, that there's still going to be a lot of obstacles and a lot of changes that are coming still in near future. And so my last thoughts, I just want to say that this path that I've been on for the last couple of years have been the most powerful thing that I could ever do for myself. And this process that I've been on, the true awakening process, it has been an absolutely incredible and very empowering. And the reason I'm sharing is because this process, the reason I'm sharing this with others still, with my new video series, is because it's very empowering to me. And I want to share this with other human beings, that we hold the power. We are the creator beings. And I'm here standing as an evidence of that it is very empowering path to be a spiritual warrior, to be a wild wisdom warrior, and have the gnosis and have the knowledge within, and be empowered by that. We are an amazing beings, and we need to reclaim that, because that's who we are as humanity. We need to reclaim our greatness.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Lily, for your service, and thank you very much for coming on our show and imparting your wisdom and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Thomas. And if you guys are interested in following my series on YouTube channel, my YouTube channel is Lily Kolosova. It's Lily, last name Kolosova, Kolosova. And this series is called Wild Wisdom Warriors. I also have a Facebook group under same name, Wild Wisdom Warriors. So if you guys would like to join, please do. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate Th&I family, and Thomas, thank you for having me on. It's always a joy.
Thank you, Lily. As always on the Truth, Honor and Integrity show, I leave with a piece that is probably more fitting for this show than even the Thursday show. And it's as follows. If you lead life in love and care, you will prevail. If you lead life in anger and fear, you will fail. Feel free for you to be the person you wish to be, not the person who conforms to what others want them to be. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be stifled. You are not here to be enslaved. You are not here to be abused or to compete with your friends, family or neighbours. You are here to be the best you can be and do so as the crown of creation. Now go out with the confidence of who and what you are, and in doing so, inspire others. My name's Thomas Williams. This has been the Truth, Honor and Integrity show with our special guest, Lily Earthling, and I wish you all a good night.